Everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this is part 3 of my series going over this camper. Last video. So the first video was about the exterior, kind of the components that really make this camper come together, the suspension, the shell, kind of things like that. And then the second part was the interior, what made it a livable place. And now we're gonna go over the galley. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to point out is how this is kind of put together. This metal piece, look at this, it even has TOPO 2 on there, but it's really well made, machined. I haven't had any issues with it. It's been working flawlessly. Even in the winter time, this has been working great. And then you've got this gutter system where it just takes all the water that comes off the side here, hits here, and then slopes on down. I haven't had any water ingress at all, and this has worked excellent with a nice light rain. It just protects you, especially with this little curve. It just kind of keeps the rain off of you if it's just a nice light rain. We've got a stainless steel top here where I can put everything on there. I typically leave these on here when in transit, and that just kind of protects it. Because with all the abuse over all this time, you can see I've got a little bit of wear and tear here, but not bad. It's cleaned up pretty good. I've been really happy with that countertop. If you need a little bit more space, you can buy one of these, and this is great. You just put that over the sink, and then it gives you more space over here. One of the downsides, though, is this sink doesn't swivel. I wish that this could turn either this way or that way, in order to make it so I could utilize that space a little bit more effectively with that out of my way. The sink itself, though, is a nice stainless steel sink. It's pretty deep. It's worked pretty good. It's not massive by any stretch of the imagination, but it is adequate for all of my needs. It also comes with this shower head. Now, something to note about the shower head is this is very cheap, and this can break with just one drop. I actually have 2 of these now because I had to buy another one after it cracked right down the side, and I'm hoping this one will last a little bit longer. But they are cheap. I think I spent like literally $10 on this. And it works when it's not cracked or having any issues. So now the way this works is you take the quick connect and you just kind of plug it in right there. This piece right here can also break if you don't properly winterize or something like that. I don't know why it broke for me, but I did get this replaced. They send you another part and it just screws right back in there, and it was no big deal. But just something to be mindful of. You do have hot and cold water even at this part. So you pull this up to turn it on, and then hot and cold, and that allows you to have the right temperature for either your shower, or what I mainly use this for is actually for my dishes. Up here, if you did want to use it for a shower, you got to take this off, and then you take this around here. You got to find the spot. Oh, there it is. And it goes right there. You can take a shower. Now, I personally have only used this once for an actual shower, and then more often I've used it quite a few times to wash up after doing a hike or something like that. I'll just stick my head under there and get a nice rinse off. All right, and then what we have here is if you take this off, you now have a cutting board right here, and you've got your knives here. Now, something I want to point out is these knives are pretty much set for the knives that they picked out. And these are cheap GSI knives. They've been great. They've worked for me, but I would have loved to see Escapod just make a big square here or something like that, so I could choose what I wanted in this space. Back in behind here is where you get to your mechanicals, and it's a little tricky, but what I find is you basically just got to swivel. So push up right here and then swivel this out, and it should come out okay. All right, then you have your aqua hot and everything back here, all your mechanicals that you can get to. This is where the heat comes out and all that. So if you have to make any repairs to any of these splices or anything, they're right there. All right, moving on over here. If we take these off, this is a table, installs over on the fender. I've done it a million times in my videos. The one thing about the table that I will mention is that if you leave it in the heat in the sun without any sort of awning out, it will begin to sag a little bit. It becomes a little bit pliable, so just be aware of that too. All right, now back and behind here is where you store everything, and I will be perfectly honest, I don't know what I'm doing here yet. I haven't decided. I need help. Somebody help me, please. Tell me how to organize this effectively. There should be a Facebook group and a Reddit page and, you know, a YouTube something out there of everybody's way of doing this, so that way we can all kind of take ideas from each other, because I could use some help here. I almost feel like it's a little more difficult for me just because there's actually more space there than what I really need. And I'm used to being a backpacker where I really don't bring a ton of stuff, and I like to reuse things. Usually has dual purposes and things like that. So I just feel like I have more space than I really need there. And so it's been tough for me to kind of fill the void. If you look back here, there's your outlet. That will have to run on an inverter, so that way you can run whatever appliances you want out here. Now outside that plug though, there really is nothing else to use for power, which is definitely a big con in my opinion. I mean, you've got all these power outlets here. It would be great to see a 12 volt connection right here, so that way you could have a USB-A, USB-C, something there to utilize when you're out here. It's just a nice spot to maybe throw some stuff that you want to charge, maybe an outside light or something, rather than putting it in the cabin. Now what they do give you is your water pump and then your light. So you have your white light and your red light. Now I wish that they had that red light for all the outside lights, but of course it's just for the galley. But I'm glad they at least did it for the galley area. It's highly appreciated. All right, now if you look back in here, you'll see there's that false wall right there. So if you take all this stuff out, open that false wall, you'll see your battery system back there. Now I've got videos out there showing you of what that looks like, so just go check those out. I talk about the batteries and, you know, how they perform and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, check those videos out. The one thing that I will say in general is that having them in the temperature controlled environment is that it's going to give you the capability to winter camp and have true power, have good power. You don't have to worry about the 0 degree weather draining your battery and leaving you without power. Now, of course, the negative to that is accessibility. You can't get back in there. You can't really take those batteries out and reinstall them easily. And so one of the things that I didn't even think about when I was winter camping is just kind of that extra step of, oh, I've got to reinstall my batteries in order to take the camper out. And that can kind of be a pain, especially because you're crawling up in there to get to access to put the batteries back in. Below the sink, we've got this spot right here. This has a salt and pepper shaker, and typically over here there'd be a bunch of other ones to put all different sorts of, you know, garlic, I don't know, whatever you're going to put on there. I typically just bring my stuff that I bring from home and actually put it up here with my other stuff. But then you also have your cleaning materials down here as well. I just keep this brush with some soap in there, and then I keep this here without any soap, and this is for the carbon steel pans and things like that I don't want soap on. And then right below that, we'll open this up, and this is my stove. So far I've got some mixed opinions on this stove. It's been pretty good. This grate was the first thing to fail on me. As you can see, this piece just kind of broke off, and the reason that is because this normally stores on it like this, where you push this in and then you push this in on this side. Let's see if I could get it to do it. Yeah, see, it barely fits, but if you muscle it in there, that's how it's supposed to be. I don't put it in there because I started to see some scratching, and it pretty much busted on the first, I don't know, maybe 2 times using it. So I store it upside down like this. As far as performance goes, this is pretty good. It's adequate. Numbers wise, I think this is 12,000 and this is 8,000 BTUs. I really would much rather have the same size on both sides. I don't think this gives me much savings as far as fuel consumption, and it's really just not hot enough. You need to have at least 12,000. 10,000 to 12,000 on each side would be adequate. My prefer would be even bumping it up higher to even 15,000 on both sides. It would just give it a little bit more cooking power. Now, when wind is coming by and hitting this, and I'm trying to cook here, the nice thing is this is kind of recessed down pretty deep, and so it allows the flame to really have a little bit of protection. Now, granted, if it's windy, more like 12 to 15 miles per hour, at that point I need to start looking at putting some sort of windscreen on around it at this angle. The last thing I want to mention is just how well this cleans up. I mean, there is this stuff right here that's still kind of showing pretty good, but for the rest of it, it has cleaned up, and I have used this over the last year an absolute ton. My wife and I love cooking, so I come through and I clean this all up afterwards, and all the buttons and everything has stayed clean. The black finish has stayed pretty good outside of where I scratched it, putting the grate on and off again. And then inside here where it gets coated with grease, it just comes right off, and look, it's pretty good. It's still pretty shiny, and I've really been impressed with this. All right, and then there's one other slide, and this is where I keep all of my silverware and everything. I kind of just have it all packed in there. There's no real rhyme or reason. Again, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to sort everything. For now, this has worked pretty good. And then we come to the fridge. And it's been good. It hasn't had any issues. It's been running great for me so far. The one thing I will say is when Escapod installed this, they put a plug in underneath here. Well, that plug is one spot that this could come loose. So if you're not getting power or there's an issue there, check there. That did throw me for a loop. However, the other part of that is right up on this side of it, where that connector is, I actually had to take these butt splices out, or whatever splices those are, I forget. And there's a little crimping end that you have to put on there. And I think the person who installed it just used their needle nose pliers instead of actually using a crimping tool. And I've seen other electricians do that when I was an electrician, and it always ends up being a bad connection. So I had to redo those in order to make sure my fridge stayed on. Now, right behind the fridge is your water storage. And there's nothing much to say about it other than it hasn't had any leaks, hasn't had any issues yet. I will say this, when it's full, this kind of bows out a little bit, and I'd like to see maybe some ribs or something like that along the side, and that will kind of strengthen it, so that way I would get a little bit more, I don't know, security with it. But so far the straps and everything has held it all nice together. I haven't seen any issues, and I'm sure I'm just overthinking at that point. All right, well, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you think of this trailer. Let me know what you thought of this review. Was this helpful? I know it wasn't glamorous. I know it didn't have any cool shots, some awesome music or anything to it, but this is just my thoughts. These are just my opinions, and I thought that y'all would like it. Now, I've had quite a few people email me versus commenting on my channel, and they will email me asking me, would I buy the trailer again? Did I get my leak fixed and things like that, because they watched maybe an episode or two. And I just want to let everybody know the leak on this trailer really got resolved when they sent a person out here to actually look at it and fix it. I tried to find it. I tried to figure it out myself, but ultimately when I had the expert come out, they found the leak, they found the issue, and they did fix it, restored me like new, and I haven't had an issue with leaking since. Now, as far as recommending that you would buy this camper, that's a mixed bag. That's a tough one because it is an expensive trailer. And for the money, I think you're going to want to make sure that you want a trailer like this. Do you want to have a teardrop? There are pros and cons to having a teardrop style camper in and of itself. But if you know for sure that you want a teardrop, and you know for sure you can afford the price tag that's on a camper like this, then the one thing I will say is that I've been impressed with it and I'm happy with my purchase. All right, everybody, that's it for me. Till next time, I'll see you.